Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Fashion Week Online's Influencer Series, and who better to be in the Influencer Series than the man himself, Mr. Kilian Hennessy of the Kilian World. I'm not going to just say brand because that would be understating it, and we'll get into why I said world right now. Mr. Kilian, we thank you humbly for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being in town for a little bit so we could grab you up. 2 days. So I want to start off by just asking you, we talked a little about this off camera. I was reading about your thesis that you did. Interesting topic. I don't want to get it wrong. The semantics of odors in search of languages common to gods and mortals.
Close.
Close? Okay. Now, what age were you when you wrote that thesis?
22.
20. So what inspired the thesis? What inspired you to get into the actual fragrance and perfume industry and kind of veer away from the cognac empire?
I always knew that I never wanted to work in the cognac business, in the family business, you know. Okay. I always wanted to be able to wake up in the morning, look at myself in the mirror, and realize that what I built it with myself only, and not with the family name behind it, you know. So that I knew since day one. The question was which subject was going to be my subject.
Right.
And to be honest, I chose perfume a bit by chance. I was reading a lot of theses that had been written prior to me, and one of the subjects that kept coming back when talking about perfumes was the absence of common vocabulary amongst people to talk about a scent. And that led me to my thesis, with the subject you mentioned. And from there, I was, in order to understand what I would be writing about, I did a nose school in parallel with my 5th year in college. So that was a busy year.
Right.
And at the end of my 5th year, I did an internship with one of the biggest perfume house. And I met my mentor there, Jacques Cavalier, who is today the head perfumer at Louis Vuitton.
Oh, so he's a small guy.
A small guy, yeah. Okay. I got lucky again. And from then I was hired by Dior, and I worked for Dior for 2 years.
Okay.
In New York, actually. Then I moved back to Paris, and I started working for Paco Rabanne. And I worked for him for 4 years until I resigned to go join the Gucci group and work with Alexander McQueen.
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic time, genius. And not easy, but you know what, when you touch creativity, it's never easy.
Right.
And I worked for him for 3 years until I resigned again to go work for Giorgio Armani.
Oh, so you kept going
I needed quietness in my life at that time after 3 years.
So you went to all small places just to, got you.
And then I resigned again to start my own brand because, to be very honest, I was losing face at the end. The perfume industry had become too far from what I had envisioned when I started. Right. And I was ready to move into fashion.
Well, you know, and it's interesting you brought up those fashion houses because that was my next question. Like, after you worked at all of those houses, what did you take from working with each different fragrance house and kind of incorporate it into your own style, or what did you see that was missing that you could fill as a niche as far as your brand itself?
I learned different things in different houses. With Paco Rabanne, I learned, it was a very small house, and I learned that the only way to compete with the big players is by being overly creative. So creation was a big part of what we used to do at Paco Rabanne. With Alexander McQueen, I learned how to come up with a collection, building it from boards and having boards in your studio and having collage of fabrics and words and images and creating a world on board that was going to be your inspiration throughout the creation process of a collection. And up till today, this is still how I work on a new collection. So if you would go in my studio, it's all boards, and every board is a different theme, a different collection, with potential names and fabrics and colors and accords possible. And so I have worlds there. And in a way, it helps me to see what do I want right now? You know, what do I feel that the customer would want? You know, at one point, a perfume has to smell its own time, like fashion. You know, if you put clothes from the 70s, you're gonna look like you're disguised.
Right.
But it's still a pant, it's still a shirt, but the cut means everything.
Feel, yes.
And in perfume, it's exactly the same thing. The way you cut or you write a formula can either transport you to the 70s, to the 80s, or make you very today. And at Armani, actually, it was within the L'Oreal structure, so it's a big structure.
Right.
And I basically learned how to build a business.
Really?
Which was very important because it allowed me to have a profitable company in year 2. So
wow, that's rare.
I know.
That's, wow. So that's good. So you learned a lot from everyone. Now, what was the thought process, I want to say, behind the scented jewelry? Because when I first learned of the scented jewelry, it blew my mind, and I thought, I can't believe someone never thought of it sooner.
It's incredible, huh?
It was like, because I'm very hard on fragrances where my skin doesn't take to them well, and they easily wash off or just fade away after about maybe an hour or so. So I was thinking scented jewelry is perfect because you could wear it all day and still have the scent, and I don't have to worry about my skin washing it off or weather conditions. So what made you really see that as something that was needed in the industry, and what made you even think about that? Because that was an ingenious idea.
Well, many things actually. Okay, let's take one by one in a way. So one thing that customers are asking me all the time is body lotions and body creams to do the layering, you know. So you layer your cream and then you put perfume, so you can have like an added diffusion of the perfume. And of course, at one point I will end up doing body lotions and shower gels and body creams. But what I'm trying to do with the brand is really to elevate perfume, to put perfume back on its pedestal, to recreate a fascination for perfume by bringing real luxury, taking luxury and really putting it into perfume, and thinking perfume as a real luxury accessory and not as a disposable accessory. That's why all our bottles are refillable. That's why all our boxes are reusable. When you buy something from me, you'd keep either the bottle or the box all your life. You don't throw anything. So that was very important to me. So I was thinking about how can I do the layering through objects that you could keep all your life. And one of the items that mothers give to their daughters and you never throw is jewelry. So what took me 2 years was to think how could I incorporate the scent into a piece of jewelry. So it took me some time. The other thing that was in the back of my mind was that we live in such a image-driven world. You know, we're all on Instagram, we're all on our iPhones. I mean, you take the subway, you go to a bar, everybody is on their phone. Actually, I feel like nobody talks to each other anymore.
At all.
That's another problem.
So this is rare itself.
It's true. And but you know what? We're all very image-driven, and we can swipe through one image per second. So we're like bombarded by images. And to build a brand in a world that is so bombarded by images, you realize that the brands that are being built together are either massive advertising media, which is obviously not my business model because I'm a niche luxury brand, or through celebrity endorsement. Now, the issue by perfume is that, by essence, perfume is invisible. And we have a list of celebrities that is huge that are wearing our perfumes, but nobody knows it. So, you know, sometimes I make a joke with my wife and we swipe People magazine and, you know, they tell you what with accessory, with jewelry, with bag or pair of shoes the celebrity is wearing. But it never says, by the way, she's also wearing a perfume. No, it doesn't interest me because it's not visible. So creating scented jewelry was a way of making perfume visible, giving a face to an essence that, by essence, is invisible. Now, the thing that we have learned from our customers for the past year, because we've been doing now jewelry for 1 year, is, and honestly, it's something I didn't think about, but it's actually the most exciting about it, is that, you know, when you put perfume on yourself, it's a pleasure for the others, but it's rarely a pleasure for yourself because we don't smell our own perfume. Others tell you, you smell good. And you're like, really? Because you don't know. You don't smell your own perfume at one point.
Very true.
But when the women who are wearing scented jewelry, they get to enjoy their perfume all day long. When you wear it in a bracelet or you're wearing in a ring, each time they pick up their phone, they smell their perfume. In the earrings, each time they move their head, they get whiffs of their perfume. So the number one comment that we're having from our customers is that what's amazing is that they get to enjoy smelling their own perfume on themselves. They get to have the pleasure of smelling their own perfume.
To me, that's ingenious. With Kilian Home and its moniker being, now correct me if I'm wrong, the moniker is perfume as art?
Perfume as an art.
As an art, right? So was that your train of thought with what you just said? Like you're trying to put it back onto the pedestal and get people to not just appreciate the scent, but how it's packaged, because I noticed the candles and the presentation that you did on the candles and the actual candle holder was something, excuse me, that people could keep. So with that, are there certain scents that you feel you would stay away from because they don't fit, let's say, the overall look of the brand or the look of the luxury and the art that you're trying to portray? Like, are there certain citruses that you may not use? Because I'm really interested in getting to, how you hone in on where you say, okay, this is the scent that represents me. Like, that's the scent. Is there any scents that you would stay away from? Like, that just are off the list no matter what you smell?
So there's many possible response.
Okay.
One is that my customer actually is not interested in me giving them citrusy perfumes. Mm-hmm. I don't personally really enjoy wearing citrusy perfume. Sometimes in summer, during the day, I like to have something fresh.
Right.
But that's it. I tried 1 or 2 times to do a perfume that would be a bit more citrusy. Mm-hmm. My customer, that's not what they're expecting from me. Mm. They go to my brand for rich, dark, sexy scent. No, if they want citrusy, there's many brands that offer that world.
Very true.
They don't come to me for that.
Very true.
Now, the other thing, to be honest, is that there is a world of accords, a type of harmonies, if you want, that I'm staying very far from, because they sign, for me, the epitome of mass in perfumery. So all these very overly sugary perfume that you can smell sometimes, I try to stay, or I don't even try, I do stay very far from them. Because those are synthetic molecules that they pushed in overdose, and honestly you can put whatever you want underneath, it just covers everything. So it allows a lot of perfume houses to have a very strong, very powerful perfume at a very cheap price. And this is not who we are.
Right.
Our brand is about quality, richness, elegance, sensuality, not about offering impact for low price.
I'm not mad at that. So now let's get into the Kilian world, like how I said earlier. The clutches that the perfumes come in with, and that's the good and evil. Is that the good and evil? Can you just take me through? I know you have different fragrances. You have Addiction, Good and Evil. Let me get all of them correct.
So we have 5 collections.
There you go, do it.
We have 5 collections. The first one that we launched is called L'Œuvre Noire.
Okay.
So, which means the black artwork.
Was that in 2007? That was
correct.
Okay.
October 2007. And this collection is very much inspired by literature, poetry, but done in a modern way, because if you talk like you're in the 19th century, you look like a passé brand, and nobody wants to wear a grandmother or grandfather perfume.
Right.
So, but I wanted really to combine words in a modern way, and to express a modern emotion by doing that. And since then, I launched 2 sister collections of L'Œuvre Noire, Arabian Nights and Asian Tales, which were perfumes that were meant more for a specific culture in mind. And then I launched the collection you mentioned, which is called In the Garden of Good and Evil. Right. And this collection is, if you want, a modern metaphor of the myth of the original sin. When I started working, my theme was temptation. So I was thinking, what are today the forms of temptation? What does temptation mean in today's world? That was the theme that I was attracted to. And I went back to all forms of temptation, and I ended up going to the original temptation, the biblical temptation.
Right.
And what was interesting about this theme is that, number one, everybody has the same images that come to their mind. We all think about Adam and Eve, obviously, but we think about the snake who tempted Eve.
Right.
We think about the forbidden fruit, the apple, the object of the temptation. We think about the sin of flesh, because it's supposed to be hopeful. I'm so happy that they disobeyed. Imagine what would be our life without it.
You and I both. I'm sorry, you and I both.
So, and what was interesting about this theme is that the object of the temptation being a forbidden fruit, I decided to build the entire collection on forbidden fruit perfumes. And that was interesting. And then, of course, the snake was too good not to play with. So I collect personally vintage cigarette boxes from the 1920s, 30s, which I think were absolutely gorgeous items that a man or woman could carry.
Right.
I don't smoke, but I love the object. And I got inspired by those cigarette cases, and I put I designed a snake on top of a cigarette box, and it gave birth to the clutch.
Oh, the clutches are amazing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. They also are able to fit iPhones.
Phones, lipstick, mascara, everything is meant so all the necessary items a woman goes out at night with could find their place in it.
Also, it's a dual role right there. It can carry their perfume, and then they can use it.
Absolutely.
You're amazing me right now.
And we launched last year our latest collection called Addictive State of Mind, which is a collection built on addictions. So that was interesting, because the thinking, the creative process was to think about addiction that I could translate into the world of perfume. Addiction to games, for example, I don't know how to do that in a perfume.
Right.
But addiction to coffee, now you're talking, you know, I can do a coffee accord. Addiction to cigar Monte Cristo, again, I could recreate a cigar Monte Cristo accord. And then I also created an accord that smells a little bit like cannabis. A touch.
Oh, really?
A touch.
Oh, you wouldn't happen to have any of that around, would you?
You're talking about the cannabis or the perfume?
No. Don't get me in trouble as well. No. Just the.
No, we do have it. It's called Smoke for the Soul.
Really? Smoke for the soul. That's really it. Now, just to touch on the different fragrances, when do you know it's time to release another one? Do you sit there and say, okay, well, it's a new season, new fragrance, or do you have to be inspired? Like, it has to hit you. It's like, you know what? Now I'm ready to do another one.
Well, no, you have to be inspired, but inspiration is not something I'm lacking with. Like, I have so many perfumes that I could launch tomorrow, but I'm not going to overflow the market with so many perfumes, you know.
Right.
So I'm launching actually less and less to give more time to every scent to find its public, in a way, its fans. But if I could do it my way, I mean, I could launch 5 a season.
Really?
Yeah. Inspiration is not something I'm lacking with.
Well, that's good. Now it's funny that you said that about releasing less and less, because that really goes into the play of when you're talking about, when I read about you, that you really like for the consumer to discover your brand and really have the time for it. So are you planning, as far as with the Kilian home, with the candles and the hanging tassels that I saw yesterday that are great tassels, by the way. He actually has a sack where there are silicone beads that
filled with oil.
And they last 2 years.
2 years.
I paid attention yesterday. So now, are you still interested, just to go on to another topic that I saw that was very interesting about you, are you still interested in doing bespoke?
Yeah, we absolutely do bespoke. You did one with
Chris Collins, correct?
Yeah.
So how would someone get in contact, or is it you select whom you would want to do a bespoke?
Yeah, I do 2 bespokes a season.
Okay.
I only take 2 a season. It's a lot of work. I do it for special customers. I actually have repeat customers who come every year because they want a new bespoke every year.
Wow.
But it's a lot of work. So I want to do it well. And to do it well, I need to spend time with the customer. So I prefer to only do a very limited.
Now, how did that all come about, that process? Was it something already in the back of your mind, and you were just looking for the right person to do it with, or did someone approach you and say, you know what, can you make a fragrance for me? And that kind of birthed the whole bespoke.
Exactly. There's a customer who came for the first time asking me if I would do a bespoke for her. I said yes. We did it, and then I proposed it to others, and then it became available.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay, so now, and this is in my research now, you're physically presenting a new fragrance or collection that you're passionate about. So with the Kilian home, what would you say for the people that are going to be watching? How is it going to differentiate in the marketplace from what they already use to kind of scent their homes? Because I know you were talking about something that's not going to be available until 2016, so I'll leave that out.
Yeah.
What made you choose home? Was it the fact that someone came to you and said, can I use these scents in my home? Or did you just think, you know what, the market now is ready to actually have my scents and then just use it for their entire house? So was it
No, I mean,
the
home products, candles, scented sticks, this is something that is vastly used by many people. What I always found, because I'm using what exists today in the market, not to name any brand, but what I always found is that those scented objects were always lacking design. They are as simple as they are possibly. And at one point, especially when they've been used a few times, the object actually doesn't even look good anymore. So my entire thinking process was, how can I give to my customers an object that would scent your home in a beautiful way? This is a given, but also would be actually a gorgeous object in your living room, in your bedroom, or in your walk-in closet.
Right.
So the whole design standpoint was, how can I bring materials that would feel warm and luxury in anybody's decor? That's why the collection is entirely built on black lacquered wood and real mother of pearl inlaid in the wood and then varnished and polished. And personally, I think they look like real beautiful objects.
Exactly. They're decorative pieces as well as scented jewelry.
Exactly.
And okay, I'm going to ask one last question. And this is one that I love to ask because I think it's a reflective question. So what would the Kilian now, successful brand, tell the Kilian that was writing the thesis paper about how to get to this point? What would you say you have to navigate through? What would be your advice to the old Kilian who was writing that thesis paper?
Honestly, it's so much work to build a brand. If I knew back then what I know now, I think I would have never done it.
Really?
It's tremendous. The dedication, it's a 24/7 every single day attention, you know, because you are still building a brand competing with everyone else around you. And when I go to department stores, I'm still fighting for spaces against Chanel, against Dior, against Tom Ford. Still the same fight, you know. And the world today, your market, if you want, is not your home country anymore. It's the world, you know. And in order to build the brand, you need to travel and to expand your fan base in the world.
And do interviews like this.
So yes, so you know what? You have to be somehow in your studio creating the products of tomorrow. You still have to be traveling in all the countries to promote the product that you already launched. In the middle, I still have 2 kids that I have to raise.
Wow.
Yes. And a new wife.
Very lovely lady. We met her, a very lovely lady.
So no, it's a lot to take in. It's really a lot to take in. Is it something that is rewarding? Absolutely. I feel like it has been the biggest reward ever. And I feel very proud of what I have accomplished. But it's a dedication. I mean, you have to know that you're in there and it's going to consume your entire life. Like sometimes they ask me, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, I don't have any hobbies anymore. No more hobbies. My life is the company and my family, and that takes 200% of my time.
Okay. Now, I lied to you. That wasn't the last question. I have one more, and it's a speed round, but it's one to just have fun with. I'm gonna give you an either or, and you just tell me which one you would prefer.
Okay.
Ice cream or coffee?
Coffee.
Flying or driving?
Flying.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Summer. France or Lake Como, Italy?
France.
Okay, and the last one is New York or?
New York.
Thank you. There we go. That's all I wanted. Well, this is Chris Colley with Kilian Hennessy. I hope you enjoyed the interview. This is our Influencers series, and we want to thank him so much. We're in Kilian's Boutique, which you can come to in New York. It's on 804 Washington Street in the Meatpacking District. We'll see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just like